Just because an actor lands a role doesn't always mean they'll keep it. Thanks to bad interviews, script disagreements, and a couple of out-of-line producers, these stars found out that if you speak up, you can get kicked out. 2007's Transformers put Megan Fox on the map, and after that first film became a massive success, Fox was brought back for the sequel, Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen. But then she was conspicuously absent from Dark of the Moon. Why? It all comes down to her inflammatory comments about Transformers director Michael Bay. In a 2009 Wonderland interview, Fox didn't mince words about Bay. He's like Napoleon, and he wants to create this insane, infamous madman reputation. He wants to be like Hitler on his sets, and he is, so he's a nightmare to work for. Comparing Bay to Hitler didn't go over well with Transformers franchise producer Steven Spielberg. Bay told GQ, "You know, the Hitler thing?" Steven said, "Fire her right now." Fox was dumped, and Rosie Huntington-Whiteley was brought on board for Dark of the Moon in a new role to fill the spot. Bay issued a snide apology to Fox, saying, "I'm sorry, Megan. I'm sorry I made you work 12 hours. I'm sorry that I'm making you show up on time. Movies are not always warm and fuzzy." Thomas Gibson played FBI Special Agent Aaron Hotchner on Criminal Minds between 2005 and 2016, at which point the actor was fired following an on-set altercation. Gibson allegedly kicked writer and executive producer Virgil Williams after a disagreement over the script. Gibson claimed that the incident was blown out of proportion, telling People magazine, "He came into that room and started coming towards me. As he brushed past me, my foot came up and tapped him on the leg." Whatever the case, it wasn't his first offense. In 2010, he allegedly shoved an assistant director and was made to attend anger management classes as a result. Gibson also apparently didn't get along with his Criminal Minds co-star Shamar Moore. In papers relating to a 2014 lawsuit, Gibson's ex-manager Craig Dorfman alleged that Moore verbally attacked Gibson, and he subsequently talked Gibson out of physically attacking Moore. Since leaving Criminal Minds, Gibson's career has gone downhill. In 2024, he appeared in an off-Broadway play, but his last on-screen role was in the little-known 2019 film Shadow Wolves. It was a big deal for science fiction fans when Doctor Who returned in 2005 with Christopher Eccleston taking on the titular role, but he only played the part for one season before David Tennant took over as a 10th incarnation of the Doctor. Eccleston hasn't been shy about detailing his issues with the people behind the show. In 2018, he told Radio Times, "My relationship with my three immediate superiors, the showrunner, the producer, and co-producer, broke down irreparably during the first block of filming, and it never recovered." When asked about what it would take for him to return to the series at the For the Love of Sci-Fi convention, Eccleston named names, saying, "Sack Russell T Davies, sack Jane Tranter, sack Phil Collinson, sack Julie Gardner, and I'll come back." So, can you arrange that? Eccleston has elaborated elsewhere that he didn't like how some crew members were treated during filming, and that he couldn't quite get his head around Doctor Who as a character. But he did at least reprise his role as the Ninth Doctor for a series of audio adventures beginning in 2020.
It's a joy. I'm having a lovely time playing him.
The late, great Chadwick Boseman is just one of many A-list actors who got their start on soap operas. He had a short-lived gig on All My Children. He only had the role for 1 week before getting fired, though. Boseman played Reggie Montgomery during his brief tenure on the soap. From the start, the actor had concerns about playing a character that embodied certain racial stereotypes. He told The Wrap, "I remember going home and thinking, do I say something to them about this? Do I just do it? And I couldn't just do it. I had to voice my opinions and put my stamp on it. And the good thing about it was, it changed it a little bit for him." The him Boseman is referring to is none other than his future Black Panther co-star, Michael B. Jordan, who took over the role of Reggie from Boseman after he was fired. Jordan told The Wrap that the role did in fact change somewhat, and he expressed his appreciation for Boseman making a positive impact, even if it hurt himself at the time. It's an amazing case study of how sticking up for one's beliefs and fighting for better representation can benefit others in the long run. Jordan said, "The work that we're doing on Black Panther is hopefully doing the same thing for the next group of actors that are coming up, just like how our predecessors opened up doors and made things easier for us." Good Times was an incredibly influential show throughout the 1970s. It centered on a black family, a rarity at the time, living in a public housing project, and the series regularly dealt with heavy topics like poverty and chronic unemployment. At the heart of this family is James Evans, played by John Amos. But while the show was groundbreaking for having two black parents in the picture, that soon wouldn't be the case. James was killed off in the Season 4 two-part premiere. The reason for his departure came down to conflict with the writers. In 2017, Amos told Sway in the Morning, The truth of it was when the show first started, we had no African American writers on the show. And some of the attitudes they had written, as per my character, and frankly, for some of the other characters as well, caused me to say, we can't do this, we can't do that.
I just look at each and every one of them and I said, well, how long have you been black?
Amos admits he maybe wasn't as diplomatic as he could have been, but he was labeled a disruptive element. As a result, series creator Norman Lear called him and said he wouldn't be returning for the show for season 4. The show went on without him, while Amos continued to have a successful Hollywood career until his death in 2024 at the age of 84. Can You Ever Forgive Me is a 2018 biographical film about how Lee Israel, played by Melissa McCarthy, re-energizes her writing career by forging letters from famous authors who are already dead. McCarthy nabbed an Academy Award nomination for Best Actress for the role, so you might be surprised to learn that Julianne Moore was originally cast in the part. Apparently, Moore had a different vision of the character from what screenwriter Nicole Holofcener wanted. Moore told Andy Cohen, "I think she didn't like what I was doing. We had just been rehearsing and doing pre-production and stuff, and her idea of where the character was different than where my idea of where the character was, so she fired me." That all sounds a little cryptic, but Richard E. Grant, who plays Jack Hawk in the film, revealed more to reporters at Advertising Week Europe, saying, Julianne Moore wanted to wear a fat suit and a false nose to play Lee Israel, and Nicole Holofcener said, "You're not going to do that."
And did you see the movie?
I haven't yet, because it's still kind of painful.
Of course, Moore's career has been just fine without Can You Ever Forgive Me. On her resume, she's a 5-time Academy Award-nominated actor, winning in 2015 for her performance in Still Alice. Geneviève Bujold was originally cast in Star Trek Voyager as Captain Janeway before being replaced by Kate Mulgrew. In an interview on the Delta Flyers, Garrett Wang, who played Ensign Harry Kim on Voyager, said that Bujold told him, "When I first agreed to take on the role of Janeway, I told the producers that I want to have no nonsense with my hair. I want my hair down, I don't want it up. I don't want a lot of makeup. I want her to be captain first and a woman second." Bujold was apparently dismayed when the producers went back on their word to allow her to interpret the character however she saw fit. And according to executive producer Rick Berman, Bujold had concerns about the packed filming schedule. He said, "She felt that she couldn't memorize 7 pages a day. With all this difficulty so soon into production, Bujold was fired and Mulgrew was brought in, a decision that turned out to be a popular one among fans."
We're capable of so much more than we think we are, and that's what that taught me, that journey. That was a great journey.
Long before the notion of a multiverse was all the rage in Hollywood, Sliders played with the concept in the mid-90s. The show follows a group of people lost in the multiverse who slide between realities as they try to find their way home. John Rhys-Davies played Professor Maximilian Arturo until season 3, when he sacrificed himself to protect the others. But Professor Arturo's death wasn't just there to add dramatic weight. Rhys-Davies hadn't gotten along with the show's writers for some time. He told Digital Spy, "I would go to the writers and complain, but they would say, 'John, why don't you just say the words as written?' And I'd say, 'I'll tell you what, I will actually say the words as written when you can actually write intelligent sentences.'" The actor also said that he felt as though the writers were shamelessly ripping off famous films. He told Telerama, "Not only did they not know anything about science fiction, but they were stealing ideas from other works. We made an episode like Tremors, one like Twister, one like Night of the Living Dead, and even one like The Island of Dr. Moreau, using the original masks from the film." There was a silver lining though. Leaving Sliders meant Rhys-Davies was available to play Gimli in Peter Jackson's game-changing The Lord of the Rings trilogy. Talk about good luck.
Certainty of death, small chance of success. What are we waiting for?
2008's The Incredible Hulk marked the second film entry in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, following the hugely successful Iron Man. It received a much more muted reception though, and star Edward Norton was later replaced by Mark Ruffalo as the Hulk for future MCU films. Why? Rumors suggest Norton was difficult to work with, and that he was constantly rewriting the story to fit his vision. Terry Notary, a stuntman who worked on the film, claimed that the star put little effort into the motion capture required to bring the Hulk to life. He said, "Norton wasn't really engaged as far as the Hulk stuff goes, unless he was transforming from himself into the Hulk. He was not very present through the whole thing." This was basically confirmed when Marvel head Kevin Feige put out a passive-aggressive statement announcing that Norton wouldn't be back for 2012's The Avengers, saying, "Our decision is definitely not one based on monetary factors, but instead rooted in the need for an actor who embodies the creativity and collaborative spirit of our other talented cast members." Norton later spoke with The Independent about getting the boot. And even though he didn't seem too beat up about it, he did call Marvel's behavior, quote, low, unprofessional, and very dishonest. The professional divorce seems to have worked out for both sides. The MCU has become a box office juggernaut, and Norton has been nominated for 2 Oscars since playing the Hulk. The actor isn't always at fault when it comes to disputes with showrunners. Sometimes actors are considered hard to work with simply because they stand up for themselves. According to Gates McFadden, she was fired from Star Trek The Next Generation before the start of the 2nd season due to sexism. McFadden, who played Dr. Beverly Crusher, told SBS that her departure was especially shocking, considering how well received her character was during the 1st season. I had been in conflict with one of the male writer-producers about certain things I thought were sexist. What I've heard is that he said either she goes or I go. I was shocked that they let me go because I knew my character was really popular. Such reasoning would have no doubt led to greater backlash today. Luckily, McFadden had the last laugh. The writer-producer was ultimately fired, and she was brought back for season 3. McFadden credits the fans as well as series star Patrick Stewart for being in her corner and supporting her.